Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is my review of the Trijicon Accupower 1:4x24 variable mag optic. Now, right up front and honest, I've never been a huge variable mag optic fan for the AR platform. I've always been a red dot guy for close to intermediate ranges. But the variable mag optics have come a long way in a very short period of time. Trijicon's definitely been leading that in some aspects. The Accupoint is an optic I have in one of my other rifles. I really like it. It's that dual illumination fiber optic tritium. But if you've had any experience with those optics, you know in super low light conditions, no lume, rural areas, that tritium sometimes isn't enough to get a really clean look at the reticle. Well, Trijicon came out with the Accupower, which is a battery-powered LED. 31-hour battery life on its maximum setting, which allows for, if you want, multiple settings on the reticle so you can definitely see it in any lighting condition, which is awesome. Not something you necessarily need during the day, but in twilight, low light, and mesopic light conditions, it's definitely very helpful. Some built-in features that I really like is it has a built-in foxtail, cattail, gross motor scale finger magnifier adjuster thingy, whatever you want to call it. This is really awesome because some of your other variable mag optics out there on the market, you have to buy an add-on device. Some of them are a lot bigger, like I've seen some on the Vortex razors that stick out a lot further, which I don't really care for. It's obviously very functional. The bigger it is, the easier it is to manipulate. But on the Accupower, it's just big enough that you can get it, but it's not so large that it's going to drag against your gear, or it's going to cause what I call an asymmetrical impact if the rifle happens to be dropped. And I definitely did drop this rifle more than a few times during the review process. Now, right up front, the one thing I don't really care for about the 1:4 Accupower is the covered turrets. You got to remove the cap to make your adjustments, zeroing process, whatever you're doing. Dial it in, get it set, pull it out, reset it to 0, and then you can replace the cap. Obviously, you can leave them exposed, which I wouldn't care to do because they're designed to be covered. They're not built to the same level of durability as an exposed turret would. I like exposed turrets, but again, on a 1:4, it's not necessarily a need. With the mill reticle, you can do holdover if you know your dope for different ranges. If you're 0 to 100 meters and you got to shoot it at 230 and you range it with the mill reticle or what have you, not really that large of an issue, but it is something I'd like to see on a later model, the option of exposed turrets. That'd be really nice. Other than that, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. 1:4, the glass is really clean. It's a second focal plane reticle. Some people prefer first focal plane. I like second focal plane, so the reticle is the same size, constant size at variable magnifications. Obviously, you've got 11 brightness settings for the LED power. Takes the regular battery that you're going to use for your aim points or your RMRs, which is really nice. The glass is clean. I didn't pick up a lot of mirage even when I got the gun really hot. Even shooting in the prone, like obviously mirage it's going to be there. It's going to be an issue. On the 1:4, it didn't really become a significant problem until it got up into the 80-90 degrees and the gun was running at 230 or 250 degrees. Put about 500 rounds through it during the review process. I know that's not a whole lot. Well, for some it might be. For me, it's not. I didn't feel a need to put 2,000 rounds to the optic just to prove its reliability. I think Trijicon's already vetted their optics when they put them to market. But I did put it through some durability testing and some return to zero testing. My experience in law enforcement has been that variable mag optics, especially the further back we go in history, is constant vibration may adjust to zero inside the reticle, especially if it's not a very well made optic. So I wanted to know if it can handle a little bit of abuse. Now obviously I didn't have the time to let it ride around in my truck for a year to see if just vibration would cause a zero shift. So I did some drop testing. Rifles are going to fall. You're going to lean them up against the wall and they might tip over and hit the ground. Whatever the surface may be can affect a zero. Now obviously your mount plays into that. If you're not using a quality mount, then you drop it, it could shift inside the tube. But I'm using a GG&G mount. Some people like them, some people don't. I've always thought they've been durable enough and they maintain consistency, which is what I'm looking for in my mounts. So I did a few drop testings, and one drop testing is a little bit outside of the realm of reality. So what we're going to look at first is my zero at 100 meters, just doing a consistency group check at 100 meters on the rifle. And then after the drop testing, we'll see if it maintains zero. Get down with it. And after that last drop, that one-story drop, contact on the foxtail, got a little marring on the mount on the forward section. Let's go see if it maintains zero. Now the Accupower has quarter MOA or 0.1 mil adjustments, which is awesome. Some of your variable mag optics, especially those designed with the AR platform in mind, they give you half MOA, or I've even seen some that were 1 MOA adjustments. To me, that's not precise enough. I want my zero to be as precise as possible. For those in law enforcement, if you're going to use this on a law enforcement patrol rifle or you know, private security or what have you, that precise adjustment could be the difference between a good hit and a liability hit. We definitely want our rifles to be as precise as possible, especially if you're going into harm's way with them. The variable mag optics are becoming more and more popular in law enforcement, and for a good reason. And officers working in a rural area, you might want that additional magnification because you don't necessarily know what you're going to find yourself in, and your area of operation or your patrol area or what have you is going to be somewhat significantly larger and not nearly as compressed as officers in urban situations would find. But even on the 1 magnification setting, this dot runs, it presents, shouldering up for quick fire. I don't have any scope shatter or anything like that. Eye relief is 3.5 inches, which is pretty generous. In the past, I've had some particular eye relief issues with some of the earlier Trijicon products. It felt like it was very, like your head had to be specifically within plus or minus an inch on the optic to make it right. This one you got a little bit of play, so if you're snapping quick to the shoulder, you're not going to have to readjust your head and move around and get rid of that scope shadow and kill those crescents to get on the scope and deliver accurate fire. Now my final verdict on the Trijicon Accupower. I'm glad it's on the market. I'm glad that there is an option from Trijicon to give me an LED versus just dual illumination. I think that's really awesome. They've already well established themselves with their LED technology with the RMRs and some of their other optics, so I think it's awesome that they're now offering that in a magnified setting option. I'd like to see a couple different reticle options come to market, not for me personally, but I know there's other shooters out there that I've talked to that would like some different reticle options more similar to the ones already offered on the Accupoint. And I think that'd be really good. If you're looking for a quality variable magnification optic, the Accupower is definitely a good choice. So from what I've seen so far, I haven't been able to find really any huge fault with this thing other than, like I said earlier, the covered turrets, that's just preference on my part. For home defense, I think this would be a great optic to use. If you want something that's more versatile, you can use the rifle for home defense and you can go to the range and get a little bit of distance out of it with that 4 magnification setting. It's obviously a lot less cumbersome and there's less failure points in a system like this versus using a flip-to-side magnifier on a red dot, which have become really popular. I don't care for that system at all, and that'd be a totally different conversation. But if I want variable magnification, I want a one-house unit where the only failure point could be the optic or the mount instead of 3 or 4 different systems working together where there's just so many things that can go wrong. Simplify the problem. Law enforcement, I think this is going to be a great choice. Trijicon's already well known in the law enforcement community for doing really good things with their optics, putting really good optics out there. I used the ACOG for a long time in law enforcement, loved it, but it was fixed 4-power. I would have loved to have this, especially when I was working patrol, would have been great. For the citizen shooter, home defense, great choice. The only problem I could potentially see with this, using this as a home defense optic, is the battery life. If you're going to leave it on a lit reticle setting for a home defense situation, the battery life is 31 hours at maximum brightness. You're going to get more hours on a lower setting, which is why obviously a weapon light would be so important. I ran this through my house a few times just to see what it would be like, low light situations. You can't see the reticle when the lights are off, but can't see your target either, can't see your threat either. Hit the light, reticle gets backsplashed, good to go. So if you're looking at upgrading from the Accupoint, or you want another, if you fell in love with the Accupoint or you don't know anything about the Accupoint, you're just looking for a good 1 to 4, there's a lot of great stiff competition out there between Loophole and Vortex, but I think Trijicon's first showing with an LED variable is awesome, and I imagine future generations of this particular optic are only going to improve. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly. Strings and things. Wardrobe. Damn it.